Hello fans and friends across the universe. Welcome to my YouTube channel From Me to You. My name's Keir Smith. For today's video, I'd like to talk about two singles by the Beatles that I feel often get overlooked. It's the two singles that miraculously brought the Beatles back together and promoted the anthology series in the mid-90s. The two singles are of course Free as a Bird and Real Love. It's believed that the Beatles' personal assistant Neil Aspinall and George Harrison first approached Yoko Ono about using existing but unfinished recordings by John Lennon for the upcoming anthology project. It was suggested that the remaining Beatles, Paul, George and Ringo, would add new instrumentation to these recordings to make new Beatles songs. Yoko agreed, and so on the 19th of January 1994, Yoko met Paul in New York for John's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Paul made a great speech and presented the award, which was accepted by Yoko on John's behalf. And on that evening, Yoko gave Paul one of John's home recording demo cassettes containing 4 songs: Free as a Bird, Real Love, Grow Old With Me, and Now and Then. Paul, George and Ringo did ask George Martin if he would like to produce the new songs, but George Martin turned the offer down, citing hearing difficulties as the reason. Knowing that the band would need a producer to help with the recording process, George Harrison suggested that his longtime friend and collaborator Jeff Lynne could do the job. Jeff Lynne of ELO and Travelling Wilburys fame, singer, songwriter, arranger, producer, an extraordinary talent. Everyone agreed that Jeff Lynne would be a good fit, and of the 4 songs available to the Beatles, Free as a Bird and Real Love were chosen, and the hard work began. Jeff Lynne was presented with a shaky, crackly home demo recording of John Lennon at his piano singing Free as a Bird, recorded way back in 1977. The quality of the recording wasn't good, so the first job for Jeff was to put the song in time. Then Paul, George and Ringo could build it up and layer the song from there. You can imagine that the recording process probably had its fair share of doubts and fears along the way. Were they doing the right thing? Was it going to be any good? It was certainly risky territory, but since when were the Beatles ever scared of taking risks? Ringo's double drum beat kickstarts the song, followed by George's slow, sweeping slide guitar. And then John's vocal comes in on the first verse, and as frail and as distant as it sounds, I think it's great. And I really like the fact that it sounds like it's coming from somewhere way over there, from the heavens if you will. I felt extremely emotional when I first heard John's voice coming in on that first verse all those years ago, and I still do. It's beautiful. Paul wrote the lyrics for the added second verse, and that's well written, well sung, very tidy. But I particularly like the bridge section where George sings. It raises the intensity a little bit, and that leads into his brilliant slide guitar solo. And we hear those dreamy harmonies, so lush, so beautiful, and I must say, very Lennon-esque. And I love that little falsetto coo by Paul toward the end of the song. And then we get the fake out ending before Ringo's drum fill kicks us back in and George plays that funny little ukulele part. And we hear John muttering the words, "Turned out nice again," but that's played backwards. And to me, and many others it seems, it sounds like we're hearing John say, written by John Lennon. I love Free as a Bird. I think it turned out great. The recording process was a long and arduous task, but it was pieced together really well under Jeff Lynne's guidance and his meticulous production, and I think that he deserves great credit for this song. And of course we got the great music video for Free as a Bird, directed by Joe Piker and produced by Vincent Joliet. I thought it was really clever the way it depicts the point of view of a bird in flight and references all of those great Beatles songs. And lastly, if you take the first letter from each of the 4 words from the Free as a Bird title, you get the letters F-A-A-B, which roughly spells fab. For the Real Love single, Jeff Lynne was working with John's home demo recording from 1979. John had recorded the song with a drum machine, but apparently it was even worse quality than Free as a Bird. Jeff said it took a whole week's worth of work cleaning it up and removing all of the hums, hiss, and clicks. The song did, however, have a complete set of lyrics written by John. So, with Real Love, it was more a case of adding new instrumentation to John's song, and therefore wasn't considered as much fun to record as Free as a Bird was, which required more input and was a much more creative process for Paul, George, Ringo, and Jeff. Real Love opens with that lovely piano, and John's voice is double tracked here, and I think that it's noticeably stronger for that. And I really like the innocence of John's lyrics here, just like little girls and boys playing with their little toys. Seems like all they really were doing were waiting for love. Paul's playing his Bill Black double bass on the song, and George Harrison's guitar work throughout the song is impeccable. In particular, he plays some really cool, creative guitar phrases that seem to answer the call from John's pre-chorus lyrics. And the chorus itself is simplicity at its best. I absolutely love it. And George's guitar solo here is fantastic again. I think it's one of his best for the Beatles. It's a bit more loose than you'd have maybe expected from George, but all the better for that. And his playing on the outro is equally stylish as that great chorus is repeated over and over. The quiet one certainly steals the show for me on Real Love. And George himself actually said in an interview that while Real Love wasn't as much fun to record as Free as a Bird, he actually thought that it was the better of the two songs. And like Free as a Bird, Real Love turned out great. It's such a heartfelt and sincere lyric from John, and of course the instrumentation is fantastic. Both Free as a Bird and Real Love both did very well on the singles charts on both sides of the Atlantic, as you would expect. Free as a Bird was released on the 4th of December 1995 and got to number 2 in the UK and number 6 in the US. And if I remember rightly, it was kept off the number 1 spot in the UK by Michael Jackson's Earth Song. And Real Love was released on the 4th of March 1996 in the UK, but a day later apparently in the US on the 5th of March 1996, but it reached number 4 in the UK and number 11 in the US. Of these two fab singles, I've always preferred Merely by a Whisker, Real Love. But I think that they are both really great songs. So good, in fact, that if I were to ever dare to rank every Beatles song, I would say that these two would be in my top 75. But as always, I'd love to know what you think. Which song do you prefer, Free as a Bird or Real Love? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Please give the video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. There'll be lots more to come. Thanks as always for watching. See you next time.